Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time zone you are in. Welcome into Spaceflight Now's live coverage of the latest mission from Vandenberg Space Force Base. I'm Will Robinson Smith, reporter with Spaceflight Now. So good to have you with us here on this evening of October 7th. We're broadcasting as we always do from the Spaceflight Now News Bureau here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. If you're joining us once again today following our coverage of the Starlink 10-59 mission from here in Florida, welcome back. If this is your first launch with us today, welcome in. Once again, our man in the chair running the technical operations of our broadcast is Mr. John Pisani. The rest of our photography team has this launch off since this is a West Coast venture. But be sure to follow the fellows at their handles that you see here on the screen. These are their profiles on X. You can find John at John Pisani Photo, Michael at MD Kane Jr., and Adam Bernstein at A Bern NYC. While you're there, be sure to follow Spaceflight Now simply at Spaceflight Now. You can also find us on Threads, Facebook, and Blue Sky if you yourself are not on X. Less than half an hour to go before SpaceX's planned launch of the Starlink 11-17 mission from Vandenberg. This is set to be the company's 91st Falcon 9 launch supporting its Starlink constellation so far this year. This will also be SpaceX's 127th Falcon 9 launch of 2025. As we're getting things going, I want to thank the more than 2,200 of you who are joining us at the early end of the broadcast. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor just by clicking that like button, sharing the stream, allowing some more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage as we get things rolling. Also want to thank our moderators in the live chat who are helping us out this evening. Big thanks to Rick Donner, who actually may be holding this one down solo. If you do see any of the other mods cruise on in throughout the course of the broadcast, be sure to give them a big old Spaceflight Now hello. This and every other launch broadcast is made possible in no small part thanks to our wonderful channel member community here on YouTube. So thanks to folks like, and I apologize if I mispronounce this, Jacques Passarelli, Glenn A., Kathy Ware, Red Sky, Kenneth Urbanek, Michael Cisneros is with us this evening, Meg McElroy, and many, many others. Mark Pachotnik, hello to you. Channel membership comes with a number of perks, including discounts at our online shop, which is Jackie. Thank you for correcting me, Jackie. Shop.spaceflightnow.com. Access to our members-only videos here on YouTube, access to our members-only Discord server, and the ability to watch all of our live launch liftoff moments from here in Florida in 4K. Want to welcome in a couple new channel members as well. Chris Chin joining us with membership at the Pad Leader level, as is Crunchy Gigi. Appreciate the both of you. Welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us. Last little bit of housekeeping with just under 26 minutes to go. If you have a comment or question about this mission or other goings-on in the realm of space or spaceflight, you can use the YouTube Super Chat feature to have your comment or query elevated for a possible discussion. Of course, assuming that it is appropriate to be part of the broadcast. Not only will it be giving us some interesting things to talk about as we cruise on through the count, but you'll also be supporting what we do here at Spaceflight Now. And that, my friends, is always greatly appreciated. To that end, I want to thank Michael Cisneros for a $10 super chat. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the support tonight. And thanks as well to Gefus. Comment to the chat. Let me know how badly I mispronounced that. But thank you for the $5 super chat saying, let's rock. Just under 25 minutes to go. Let's take a quick peek at the weather situation out there at Vandenberg. Thankfully, looking at fairly clear skies over the launch pad tonight. The Falcon 9 rocket's going to be heading on a southeasterly trajectory, so hugging the California-Mexico coastline as it begins its trip uphill. It looks like pretty clear skies for central and southern California, as well as out to further additional western states there, the southwest part of the United States. So hopefully folks will have a pretty good light show as the rocket climbs. Be sure to tag us on social media. We are, again, at most places just simply at Spaceflight now. Love to see what you're able to capture to get some photos or video of tonight's launch. I did see there were quite a few of you that are joining us from the Arizona area tonight. So fingers crossed that skies are clear enough and the rocket's bright enough that our Arizona community can get a good glimpse of the rocket. See John Keener's joining us from Anaheim, California. Always cool to see some unique launch shots. So if you are in the Disneyland area, would love to see some photos, maybe of the rocket arcing over the castle or something like that. Surprise us. I digress. We're T-minus 22 minutes, 50 seconds and counting ahead of the launch of this Falcon 9 rocket. Let's go ahead now and talk about the countdown timeline, the milestones that we're looking forward to ahead of the good liftoff of the Falcon 9. We'll quickly step through what is already passed and get you up to speed on where we're at right now. Right about T-minus 38 minutes out is when the SpaceX launch director makes the call on the start of prop load. Once that go-ahead is given, as it has been for tonight's launch, fueling of the Falcon 9 began at the T-minus 35-minute mark with the loading of RP-1, which is a rocket-grade kerosene that happened on board the first and second stages of the rocket. At the same time, liquid oxygen began loading on board the first stage. Half an hour out is when helium load begins on the pressure vessels for the Falcon 9's first stage. Second stage, about 5 minutes afterwards. That's important because the helium is used to pressurize the main propellant tanks during flight. T-minus 23 minutes is when second stage RP-1 loading wrapped up, I should say. Coming up next is the chill down of the strongback, when SpaceX thermally conditions the feed lines there at the pad prior to loading liquid oxygen on board the rocket's upper stage. Had we eyes on the Falcon 9 at this point in the count, as we did this morning here at the Cape, we'd be seeing the so-called big vent, which lasts about 4 minutes in duration. Once that wraps up, it sets the stage for LOX to flow on the upper stage of the rocket, beginning at the T-minus 16-minute mark. Rolling right along at T-minus 7 minutes, SpaceX will chill the 9 Merlin 1D engines at the base of the Falcon 9 booster. That process involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps, helping to protect those engines from the risk of thermal shock and damage during startup. 6 minutes out, the first stage kerosene tank is full. Then at T-minus 4.5 minutes, we'll see the strongback retract sequence. First, the clamp arms just beneath the payload fairings will open up. And then here at Vandenberg, the strongback, otherwise referred to as the transporter erector, will recline about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket, and it will stay in that position until liftoff. Then at that point, or it stays in that position up to and through liftoff, I should say. T-minus 3 minutes is when the first stage liquid oxygen tank should be full. Same is true for the second stage about a minute afterwards. At that point, the Falcon 9 rocket is fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. In the final 60 seconds, as we hear the call that the Falcon 9 is in startup, control of the countdown is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers, and the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure at that point. The SpaceX launch director will give their call that they're go for launch if they are in fact ready at that point at T-minus 45 seconds. The engine ignition command is issued at T-minus 3 seconds. And if all 9 Merlin engines are healthy and ignite as expected, the command will be given for the hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9 rocket for a T0 liftoff. Once again, targeting the time you see here on your screen, 8:54 p.m. Pacific, 11:54 p.m. Eastern, 03:54 UTC for our friends around the world. As we're making our way through the feedline chill process portion of the launch, want to turn back to the live chat for just a moment and welcome in new channel member. It's Liam with membership at the pod leader level. Welcome aboard, Liam. Glad to have you with us. Also want to thank Jeff Hansen, one of our channel members and moderators, for a $10 super chat. Thank you, Jeff, who says, go Vandy, go SpaceX, go Falcon 9, go Starlink, Godspeed 1071. 1071 is the tail number for the booster that is flying today's mission. And nice segue. It is also one of the Falcon 9 frequent flyers, as we have dubbed them. Going to firmly take that second place position in the SpaceX Falcon fleet, breaking the tie with B1063 for the time being. About 8.5 minutes after liftoff, B1071 will target a touchdown on the drone ship called, of course, I Still Love You, positioned out in the Pacific Ocean. If successful, that will be the 156th good landing on that drone ship and the 516th booster landing to date. Here's a look at where SpaceX stands after their launch this morning. 126 completed missions so far this year. Looking forward for number 127 coming up in just about 17 minutes from now. T-minus 16 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. At this point, the big vent should be wrapping up. SpaceX now turning to loading liquid oxygen on board the rocket's second stage. As we mentioned, the Falcon 9 rocket's going to be flying a southeasterly trajectory with today's mission. Let's go ahead and give you a visual aid to those words, though, talking a little more trajectory here. Falcon 9 is going to be ascending from Space Launch Complex 4 East. Currently, SpaceX's only active pad here in Vandenberg, though they're working on adding Slick 6 to the mix very soon. Following stage separation, B1071, the booster flying today, will follow that orange arc to target the aforementioned landing on the drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You. SpaceX is working to certify not only its first stage boosters for up to 40 flights apiece, but also the payload fairings. The fairing halves used on this mission will separate and splash down a little bit further downrange from where the booster lands on the drone ship. Following re-entry, they will make their final splashdown to the water under the support of steerable parachutes. They will then be brought aboard a recovery vessel like the one you see here on the screen, and then brought through the port of Long Beach and off to SpaceX's facilities at Vandenberg, where they will be refurbished and turned around for future flights. with just about 14 and a half minutes to go. Taking a quick peek back at the live chat. I want to thank the more than 4,000 of you who are watching along with us live at this point in the broadcast. If you haven't already, you could do us a solid just by clicking that like button so more people can make sure they find their way in here before liftoff in just a little more than 14 minutes from now. I also want to thank Beach Bandits Metal Detectors for checking in with a $2 super chat, saying watching from Newport Beach in California. Hopefully, you've got a good view there. Talking about the payload that's on board the Falcon 9 rocket. Of course, this, as the mission name suggests, a batch of Starlink satellites, 28 to be exact. This, as I mentioned earlier in the show, is the 91st mission sending Starlinks into low Earth orbit so far this year. These are the Starlink V2 Mini optimized satellites, which have been flying for the majority of 2025, considerably lighter than the predecessor V2 Minis. They have a wingspan of about 100 feet or 30 meters with their solar arrays extended. They use argon Hall effect thrusters for in-orbit maneuvering. They were built up in Redmond, Washington, which is near Seattle. These will be deployed at about 183 miles or 295 kilometers in altitude at a 53-degree inclination. Our thanks to Kathy Ware for a $10 super chat. Thank you, Kathy. Before we go ahead and see the launch of the booster B-1071 making its 29th trip to space. Let's go ahead and talk about the booster history here. This rocket began flying in service of a mission for the National Reconnaissance Office, or the NRO, classified mission dubbed NROL 87. This was actually the first SpaceX launch with an NRO payload on board. That was back in February of 2022. Its next mission would be another NRO flight, which has given, or I should say, was the start of giving the NRO confidence in SpaceX launching its national security payloads. That was followed up by launch of a German reconnaissance satellite, the Sara-1 mission in June of 2022, followed up by a couple of Starlink missions. You had Starlink 3-2 on July 22nd of 2022, and then Starlink 4-29 on October 5th. Followed up by first NASA mission for this particular booster, the SWOT, or Surface, Water, and Ocean Topography, joint mission between NASA and CNES, the French space agency. Followed up by another Starlink mission, Starlink 2-6 on January 31st of 2023, and then 2-8 on March 17th. This booster's first rideshare flight was Transporter 8 on June 12th of 2023, carrying 72 satellites to a sun-synchronous orbit. Followed up by a couple more Starlink missions, Starlink 6-15 on July 20th and 7-2 on September 12th. Another transporter mission for this booster on November 11th of that year, followed up by a trio of Starlink missions, 7-8, 7-13, and 7-18. Back to covering the NRO's payloads, this time a batch of satellites for what the NRO calls its proliferated architecture, believed to be Starshield satellites, though the specific number not disclosed by the NRO. Back to Starlink land we go with this booster at Starlink mission number 9-4 on July 28th of 2024. That was followed up by 9-6, 9-7, and 9-12 before another rideshare mission, Bandwagon 2, with 30 satellites on board, launching on December 21st of 2024. Coming into this year, we had another mission for the NRO, more Starshield satellites on July 10th, putting a Starlink mission back into the mix with 11-10, back to more Starshield with NROL 192, another Starlink for good measure. Another transporter came after that, Transporter 14 in June. And then we're back to Starlinks to bring us up to the present, 13-4, 17-10. Of course, we're coming up to 11-17 here in just under 8 minutes from now. Taking a peek back at the live chat, want to thank Lucinda Miles for a $10 super chat, one of our wonderful channel members. Thank you, Lucinda. And thanks to another channel member, Tobe Wobe, for gifting 5 Spaceflight Now memberships. Really appreciate that generosity. Good to see you, Tobe. And to our 5 newest gifted members, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us. If you haven't already, be sure to thank Toby in the live chat. And we hope you decide to stick around with channel membership beyond the month you were just gifted. Just past the point of the 9 Merlin engine chill process. Coming up here in less than 30 seconds is when SpaceX should finish loading RP-1, the fuel of the Falcon 9, on board the rocket's booster. Sorry for the timing, everyone. I think we've got things straightened out here now. As you can see, good views the Falcon 9 rocket as SpaceX is now reclining the strong back away from the Falcon 9 rocket.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
That call for stage 1 LOX load. Good call there. We should hear something similar regarding the second stage at about T-minus 2 minutes.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And with that call, the Falcon 9 rocket is fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. Should be seeing some
ground
additional
gas closeouts.
venting for the ground gas closeouts right on time. SpaceX is releasing the remaining liquid oxygen from the feed lines there at the pad.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
And a good call there. We should next be hearing the SpaceX launch director verifying that they are in fact go for launch.
Go for launch.
And with that confirmation, we're going to go ahead and step back on our commentary. We'll be with you on the other side of liftoff.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go Starlink.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
M1D chamber pressures are nominal.
Nominal power and telemetry.
Vehicle is supersonic. Max Q.
And a good flight so far. The Falcon 9 rocket now passing through max Q, as you just heard. Point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Coming up to the next milestone, which is MVAC chill. the thermal conditioning of the upper stage engine before the start of its first burn.
I'm back, chill.
There's that good call there. Coming up on a few events in fairly rapid succession, we'll see first stage main engine cutoff, or MECO, at about T plus 2 minutes and 25 seconds. That'll be followed up by stage separation and then the ignition of that Merlin vacuum engine. Payload fairings are set to jettison at around the 3-minute mark. Just a few seconds away now from MECO.
Miko.
Stage separation confirmed.
I'm back, startup.
Good calls, good visuals from the Falcon 9's onboard cameras. Those hypersonic grid fins deploying on the booster. Coming up next is fairing jettison.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Those fairings will, of course, be recovered by SpaceX and refurbished and turned around for future flights. Some nice view of the coastline there with those city lights on the edge of the Falcon booster there on the left-hand side of your screen. Roughly 3.5 minutes into the mission so far. Coming up next will, of course, be the start of the first stage entry burn, using 3 out of the 9 Merlin engines to dramatically slow the first stage down as it targets a landing on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. That landing set to happen about 8.5 minutes post liftoff. And there's a nice view of the trajectories of both the first and second stages there on the left-hand side of your screen. The booster has passed its apogee, now making its descent towards the drone ship. Coming up on T plus 5 minutes into this mission, we're roughly a minute and some change away from the start of the entry burn. Got just a little more than 10 seconds remaining before the start of the entry burn.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And a good conclusion to that entry burn. And the FTS, or the Flight Termination System, as you heard, has also been safed, no longer needed at this stage in flight. Coming up next, of course, will be the start of the single engine landing burn, which should take this booster to a safe touchdown on the drone ship. Of course, I still love you. That landing burn set to begin just a hair past the 8-minute mark, so coming up here in less than a minute.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
Stage 1 transonic. Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 terminal guidance.
Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And B-1071 completing its 29th flight.
I'm back shut down.
And with a shutdown of the Merlin vacuum engine, the upper stage will enter into a parking orbit and coast now until T plus 53 minutes and 2 seconds. There will be a brief 1-second burn to circularize the orbit. And the Starlink satellites are set to be released at about 59 minutes and 53 seconds post liftoff. Rather zippy delivery for these 28 Starlink V2 mini satellites. Well, before we go ahead and let you all go off to the rest of whatever you have planned for the evening, let's turn now to our mission stats as they currently stand. This was the 29th flight of Falcon 9 booster B-1071. This was SpaceX's 544th Falcon 9 launch to date, the 127th of the year so far. This is SpaceX's 167th orbital launch within the last 365 days, the 154th from Slick 4 East, and the 222nd overall orbital launch from this pad as well. Here's our updated look at the bar chart view of things. Moving right along to some recovery stats, we saw the 156th good landing on the drone ship called, of course, I Still Love You. That marked SpaceX's 420th successful drone ship landing and the 516th Falcon booster landing as well. Finally, with some industry stats, this was the 49th orbital launch from California in 2025. The 134th from U.S. soil, the 146th from U.S. Rocket Company, and the 229th orbital launch from around the world. There have been 5 orbital mishaps so far this year. Here's where the pie chart now currently stands. And folks, that'll just about do it for our coverage here tonight. Do want to thank a couple more folks in the live chat for some more super chats that came in. Scroomer, thanks for that $2 super chat, saying simply, I like turtles. Who doesn't? Kenneth Urbanek with a $5 super chat, one of our channel members. Thank you, Kenneth. Also, thanks to Chris Chin for a $2 super chat. Thank you, Chris. And another channel member, Deb, with a $5 super chat, who says, woohoo, saw it in Brea. Thank you, Spaceflight Now. Glad you got some good views. It sounds like our friends in Arizona were not quite as lucky, but hopefully next time liftoff will be a little closer to just post sunset and y'all can get a good jellyfish out west for us. Of course, SpaceX continues on its march of launches. Coming up tomorrow night from here in Florida, SpaceX is scheduled to launch the latest batch of not Starlink satellites, but Project Kuiper satellites for Amazon and its low Earth orbit constellation. This will be the third and, as of right now, final contracted mission, at least that has been publicly announced, for SpaceX launching Kuiper satellites. This will be its 6th launch overall for this constellation. So we hope you join us right back here. We'll have live coverage of that mission beginning about an hour before liftoff. Launch set for just a little before 10 p.m. Eastern Time, about 0156 UTC for those around the world. Want to thank Spaceflight Now photographer extraordinaire John Pisani for running the technical operations of the broadcast tonight. Of course, we'll have our wider photography crew back in action tomorrow in support of that aforementioned Kuiper mission, so we hope to see you here then. Final word goes to Psychonaut69 for gifting a Spaceflight Now membership. Appreciate you, Psychonaut. And welcome aboard to our newest gifted member. We're glad to have you with us. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out the digital door if you haven't already subscribed to the Spaceflight Now YouTube channel. It's free, quick, and easy to do so, and it really does help in support of our channel, and we're very grateful to all of our subscribers. For all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith. Oh, before we go, of course, big thanks to our moderators in the live chat who've been helping us out today. Would be remiss if we let that go before we sign off. Thanks to Jeff Hansen for helping us out tonight, to Rick Donner as well. Now then, for all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith. Remember, be good to yourselves, be good to others. We will see you next time, folks, and until then, bye-bye.